So last week, I was in the gym and I was teaching a class. We were talking about financial health, and I threw out the idea that when we're talking about money, that money is spiritual. There's a spiritual aspect to money, there's an emotional, mental aspect to money, and that there is a practical aspect of money as far as managing the money and investments and things like that. And so money is, when we talk about the abundant life blueprint, if you haven't seen the blueprint, you can go to danielfoley.net and you'll see a picture of the blueprint there. Like I said, danielfoley.net, you'll see a picture of the blueprint. But on that blueprint, we talk about that the center room of the house, there's 7 rooms across the house, things like purpose and health and family, finances, order, time, and community. But finances is actually the center room. It's the centerpiece of the 7 rooms. And so finances has a spiritual component to it, has a mental, emotional component, and it has a practical component. And when we talked about this, I wanted to explain what I meant by that, and that money a lot of times is created from the inside out. It's created from the inside out, and that we get a good idea and we take that idea and we start to conceive it in our minds, and we start to let it grow bigger in our minds, and then we turn it into action. And those creative ideas can be turned into books, can be turned into music, can be turned into inventions, can be turned into businesses, can be turned into creative ways to structure real estate and other types of things. And that money is created from the inside out. We think of better ways to serve. We think of innovative ways to solve problems for people in the world, and money can be created from the inside out. And that is the spiritual part of money. One of the spiritual parts of it is that we get a good idea. So how many of you have had a good idea before? I guarantee you, we went around the class and I said, I guarantee you every single person in here at some point has probably had $1 million idea. You had an idea for an invention or a book or a program or something that you wanted to create. But the problem is most people never put it into action. Most people never actually take any action on them and turn these ideas into something real. And so I want to talk about that process. Now, that same day I was teaching that, I had a parent-teacher conference with my oldest daughter, Anya, her teacher. And one of the things she was telling me is, she seems to have a gift for writing. And so when I picked her up from school, I said, hey, your teacher conference went well, and your teacher said you're really doing a good job with your writing. And she said, you know what? I have an idea for a book, for a story that I want to write. I said, okay. Now, she's 8 years old, okay? I can very easily dismiss that, okay? But I wanted to encourage her, when you get a good idea, okay, when you get a God idea, you need to take it and you need to do something with it. You need to put it into action. Now, I said, here's what we're going to do. This was on Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, and I said, here's what we're going to do. On Saturday, we're going to sit down and we're going to write out your story, and then here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take it and I'm going to send it to the guy who has edited my books, and we're going to let him take you through the process. He's going to work on the spelling and the grammar, and he's going to maybe give you some ideas on how to make the story even better, make it flow better, make the story sound better. He's going to do that with you, and it's going to take a couple times of going back and forth with him to really get the story where you want it to be. And while we're doing that, we're also going to send the story to your grandpa, my father, my dad, who does graphics and art and illustrations and things like that. And he's going to make, this is a kid's book. It's like a short children's story. He's going to make illustrations for the book. I had to ask him first, but I figured he would be okay with it. So I sent him the story, and I had her draw up a mock cover, which she's, drawing like stick figures and things like that. And I said, all right, we're going to send it to your grandpa, and he's going to work on getting the illustrations for it. Now, and I said, what we're going to do is we're going to turn it into a book. We're going to turn it into an actual book, and we can sell it. We'll put it on my website. We'll put it up on Amazon. We can sell the book, and you'll be an author. Okay? She's 8 years old. Okay? Not many 8-year-olds are authors. Okay? But she had a good idea, and I wanted to encourage her. I wanted to teach her, number one, when you're going to get a good idea, I want you to put it into action. And I wanted to teach her the process for how do you turn that good idea into something real in your life. And so here's the process. So right when I say that, the immediate questions come up in her mind, like, well, how would we even do that? How do you actually take a book? How do you take it and turn it into an actual book? I said, well, I said, well, I had those same questions when I wrote my books. And what I learned is there's people out there that can help you do that. You just have to find the right people, and people that are out there that can do that. And sometimes you have to pay them a little bit of money to do it, but people can format it, make it into a book. These days Amazon has print-on-demand services. You can get it printed on demand. There's all kinds of ways to make it happen. I said, when you get a good idea, there's going to be all these reasons why you can't do it, why you can't make it work, because you're 8 years old, because you don't know how to do it, because you don't know how to get it formatted, because you don't know how to get it printed, because you don't know how to turn it into a book. One of the concepts we talked about in this financial class was that the thing that limits us both financially, but also in expanding out. So finances is the centerpiece of the blueprint, but then we have to expand out into the other rooms of the house from there. The thing that keeps us from expanding is our emotional capacity, because all those questions start to come up. Well, what if I'm not enough? What if I can't do it? What if I can't find the help that I need? What if I don't have the money to do it? What if it's too big and it looks impossible and I'm not capable of doing it? All of these questions start to get stirred up. Anytime you get a big idea, anything that God tells you to do is going to look impossible. Okay? He's going to give you this idea and it's going to look impossible, and all these questions are going to rise up in your mind, and all these emotional things of fear and doubt and insecurity and procrastination, and all these things are going to try to box you in. They're going to try to put you in this tight little circle, and the key is we have to learn to emotionally expand that circle. So the key to living a more abundant life is we have to learn to expand that circle out. I've actually got a video on YouTube. You can go back and find it somewhere. It's like God's Blueprint, God's Abundant Life Blueprint. We talk about this idea of the circles and expanding out. God's got some cool math that you can look at in that video. But let's talk about the process. So one of the things I know, if we're going to take a good idea or a God idea, a creative idea, and we're going to turn it into something real where we can see it. It's a business, it's a book, it's a song, it's a whatever, an invention. If we're going to go from idea to seeing this thing actually physically show up here in the world, okay, there is a process that you're going to have to go through. And that's what I wanted to teach my daughter, is what is the process. So the first part of this is you get the idea. You get the idea, and then from that idea, you've got to let it take over in your imagination. One of the things I talk about in my book, Cracking Heaven's Code, is the key, the number one thing, what I call the table turner, the thing that matters the most important thing, the shortcut to all the results in life, in your emotions and in your mindset, is your imagination. So once she's got that idea in her heart, that idea kind of pops up into her mind, I've got to let it spin around into the point where I can see it on the inside. So I can see this picture on the inside of me. And sometimes I'll even print out pictures like a cover of a book or equipment that we want to buy in the gym or whatever. But I got to have this imagination going so strong that I can see it on the inside and it's compelling me. And when I believe that I got this idea and it's becoming so strong on the inside of me, this is a process I went through with starting my gyms, writing my books. I remember just getting this picture on the inside, and it started to kind of just get bigger and bigger on the inside of me. And when that happens, what's going to happen is this. The next step is when that happens, you start to get this picture on the inside, you are going to start to believe more that it's possible, and your emotional capacity is going to start to expand. Like, wait a minute, I can do this. I don't have it all figured out how it's going to happen, but I'm going to get started. And what's going to happen is when you believe, okay, when you take that step and you cross over from idea into believing that you're going to make it happen, you will start to speak about it. The Bible talks about whenever you believe, your mouth speaks. Whatever's in the heart, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. When you see that in your imagination, it becomes real in your mind. A lot of times, for me, it's like it's already done in my mind. I can already see what it's going to look like. When you get to that place, I guarantee you, you will begin to speak about it because it's become real, not only in your mind, but in your heart. And when that thing has grown to the place where you can see it, you will begin to speak about it. You'll tell somebody else, like, hey, I got this idea. I'm going to do this. I remember when I was first getting my gym started, I was working in a commercial gym, and I started talking to my clients about, this is where we're going. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to get this space, and we're going to buy these weights, and we're going to buy these machines, and we're going to work out like this, and it's going to be great. And I began to talk about it, okay? I began to speak about where we're going. When you believe in something, you will speak it. Okay, it has to get so strong on the inside of you that you believe it and you begin to speak it. Okay, my daughter said, I've got this good idea for a book. I want to write it. Okay, I've seen it with other people, business people. You get this idea on the inside, it becomes so strong, you begin to speak about it. Okay, that's the first step, because when you believe, you will speak. Okay, now, one of the things that I've learned too, this is a cool a thing that you can pay attention to. You know, people tell you they believe in something. So you've got a team of people that say, how do you know whether they really believe? Okay, are they talking about it? Are they living it? Are they doing it? If not, they don't really believe. They might tell you that they do, but they don't really believe it unless they're speaking about it, they're talking about it, they're living it. They don't really believe. Okay? And one of the keys to taking these ideas to this point is we're going to have people come along with us. So the first step is I got to start to talk about it. And then I got to take the first step. I got to start to put it into action. Now what you're going to find is that a lot of times when you start to talk about it, when you start to speak about this idea that you get, you're going to find that all of a sudden opportunities to make it happen show up. Okay? So for example, she speaks to me and I said, hey, I can help you make that happen. Okay, I can help you turn that into a book. I've seen other people do this. We do this with the business. I started speaking about this idea of a gym. This is where we're going to go with the gym. And I said, I don't have a space to rent though. I need a space to lease. And all of a sudden, one of the guys who was the father of a kid that I was training, it was a client, it was a high school kid, his father said, hey, I know of a space that you could use. And all of a sudden, it started from there. Now, the next step is opportunity is going to present itself. Okay, you start to speak about it, and all of a sudden, opportunity is going to show up. We had a lady, she got this idea for a business she wanted to do. She started speaking about it and talking to people about it, and all of a sudden, a space opened up. All this equipment that she needed for her business began to become on sale and began to open up. She got amazing deals on it. But here's the thing: it's going to take that emotional courage to take a step of faith, because it doesn't look like it's possible. It doesn't look like you can do it yet. You've seen it on the inside, but the outside world, it doesn't look like it's going to happen just yet. And so you have to take that step. You have to start writing the book. You have to start the business. You have to open the new space. You have to take a step of faith, even though you don't have everything laid out just yet. You have to take a step of faith, believing that it's going to happen, that it's going to work out, and you have to have some courage to do that. That's where you have to have this emotional capacity. A lot of times people get the good ideas and the opportunity presents. They start talking about it and the opportunity presents itself, but then they shrink back because it's going to take a big step of faith for them to get started, to open that new business, to rent the space, to buy the new house, to buy the rental property, to do whatever it is, to invest into something. It's going to take a big step of courage to get started. Okay? And so that's the next step. We talk about it. Opportunity is going to present itself. Do we jump on the opportunity when the opportunity presents itself? And then the next step is we're going to have to collaborate with other people. So in my daughter's case, even writing a book, or let's say writing a song or an invention or whatever it may be, you would think that that's just a solo thing, but it's never a solo thing. Anything that God tells you to do is going to require more people. It's going to require you to collaborate with other people and to work well and to develop trust with other people. And so in this case, she's got to work with her grandpa on getting the illustrations ready. She's got to work with me on getting the book formatted and edited, and she's got to work with the editor to get the story the way that she wants it. And she's got to learn to work and to collaborate with other people so that it brings out the best version of the book is what we're after. Yeah. And so you're going to go through this process. You begin to believe it. You see it on the inside. You speak it. Opportunity shows up. And you got to be willing to take a step of faith, to have courage to take a step of faith. When a lot of people would tell you, maybe you're crazy, that you can't do that. And a lot of people would say, oh, she's 8 years old. Well, she can't do that. Okay. A lot of people would tell you, you can't start that business. You can't do that. That's a crazy thing to do. But you take the step. Okay. You get going. And then you're going to have to collaborate with people. And then the next step is one of the hardest parts, is that you're going to have to persevere. So now we've got the book written. Okay. We took a Saturday. We wrote the book. Okay, we took about 2 hours on a Saturday. She wrote out the book. I helped her type it up. I asked her questions like, hey, tell me more about this area where she needed to elaborate a little bit more on some things. And we'll still send it off to the editor. But we wrote the book. We got it done. We got it done in one day. Okay, we took the step. We got the book done. And then we sent it off to my dad, and we send it off to my friend that's the editor. And she's going to go through the process. And so she starts asking the question, well, how long is it going to take for me to get this thing back? I said, well, it's going to take him a little while to go through the book and to edit it, and for him to do illustrations for the book. It's going to take him some time to do it. She's thinking, and this is the way we always get into this mindset. Whenever we take that step and we take that leap of faith, that it's going to happen instantly. But there's going to be a time where you have to be patient, and there's going to be a time where you have to persevere. It's always going to take longer than you think it does in this window here. Once you take that step of faith and you start to get into that next phase where you have other people collaborating with you, and delays are going to come, you're going to have to be patient, you're going to have to persevere. There might be some times where it doesn't look like you're going to be able to finish it, like it's I can't figure it out. What's this one piece? I can't figure it out. I remember with writing my books, just kind of laying on the floor and praying like, I don't know what's next. I don't know what to put next. I don't know what goes next in this book. I remember with businesses the same way. It's like you get going and then you come into some times where you got to persevere and you have adversity and things that come up sometimes, but you got to keep going. You got to keep pushing forward. There's going to be a temptation to quit somewhere in there. You got it started. You took the step of faith, but then you're going to have to persevere for a time. So she's going to have to be patient. She's going to have to wait on other people a little bit, and she's going to have to refine this thing, which takes some time. Okay, and so there's going to be this time of patience and of perseverance and of working through and pressing through, but that grows our maturity, that grows our character. It makes us into better people as we go through this process. And finally, the last stage is, we put the finishing touches on this and we follow through, okay? And then the follow through, she's going to have to market it. We're going to have to go through a whole nother process again on the marketing if she wants to get this book out there in any way, shape, or form, which would be another step that we would have to take if we want to go down that route. But there's going to be a process of putting the finishing touches on it, finally getting it to where it needs to be, and the follow-through of releasing the book out there. There's going to be a little bit more to the process from there. So there's going to be a process that you go through. You're going to have to see it on the inside. You're going to get this idea. It's going to have to come to life on the inside. You're going to have to begin to believe that it's possible, even though it looks impossible. You're going to start to speak about it. Opportunity is going to present, and you got to take a step of faith, and you're going to start to put it into practice. You're going to have to collaborate with other people, and then you're going to come into this time of waiting and of patience and of perseverance and trying to refine this thing, whatever it is, and making it happen and seeing it come through. And then finally, on the other side of it, you're going to come out of it with a finished product. Okay, and then we've got to learn to, in the case of a book, to automate it, to get it where the marketing becomes automated and things like that on the other side of it. But there's a process you have to go through. And what I wanted to teach her and hopefully share with you guys here is this process that you go through from creative idea to finished product on the other side, okay? Now remember, we got to also focus on the follow-through. We talk about the principle of the beginning and the end. We store up this good idea, we get it ready, and we release it, we get started, and then we have to make sure that we follow through and we finish. We aim high with it at the end, so we have to finish with her, let's say on the marketing of the book, to get the book out there, to really get it going and circulating and automated on the marketing side. We've got to do those things, but there is a process that you have to go through for turning creative ideas into something that's making an impact in the world. There's a process that you have to go through. You need to understand the process. Hopefully I've laid out the steps for you, but I guarantee you go into anybody who's taken creative ideas and turn them into something, they would agree with you, would agree with me. We talked about this in the class. We got a couple people that have businesses that started with ideas and things like that, and it always goes through this process. Okay, and if you know the process, it helps you to understand where you are in the process and what needs to happen as you go through this thing. But I hope this helps. You can check out more danielfoley.net or some of the stuff we talk about in my book, 7 Days with Jesus, crossing over into abundant life, which is how do you live a more abundant life? This is one of the keys. We talk about purpose, is you have to see it on the inside. You're going to have to walk this purpose out, and you go through this same process. I actually learned this process through writing that book, 7 Days with Jesus, but we've got a special promotion going right now with 7 Days with Jesus. You can get the book for free. All I ask is that you just pay $7 for the shipping, and you can get the book for free, and it will walk you through a little bit more detail on this process. But I hope this helps. Check out more at danielfoley.net.